Shenya stood before a single, solitary door floating inexplicably in midair. There was nothing supporting it, and even more bizarrely, there was absolutely nothing behind it. He concluded it had to be some kind of magic. He stepped through the door and found himself in a strange, dark place. He called out a greeting, asking if anyone was there, but received no response. Deciding that discretion was the better part of valor, Shenya quickly apologized for the bother, wished the empty space a nice day, and made a hasty retreat back through the door. Back in his own room, his heart was pounding. He thought to himself that this new world was dangerously weird, and hoped the scary things on the other side wouldn't come after him. He then realized the book he had been holding was now missing. Suddenly, a telepathic voice congratulated Shenya, informing him he had awakened the ability, World Link. The voice declared it had finally found him. The voice told him not to panic, explaining it was trapped in another world and using limited interdimensional communication. It sternly warned Shenya that if he wanted to live, he must do exactly as he was told. Shenya was bewildered, wondering what was happening with this telepathy. The voice instructed him to open his bag and find the creepy-looking statue inside. Shenya confirmed it was the one, and the voice identified it as the cursed statue of the wicked Ghost King. It explained that someone had deliberately placed it near him to curse him to death and steal his soul. Yet, despite the plan, Shenya had survived. This triggered a flood of memories for Shenya. He realized he was not the original owner of this body, which belonged to a middle school student named Shenya. The original owner's soul had been destroyed by the statue's curse. At that very moment, he, a man who had died from overwork on a planet called Blue Star, had his soul travel to this body and seamlessly take over. The voice continued, explaining that when such a powerful curse fails to kill, it instead grants unimaginable power, the power accumulated from millions of years of stealing souls. It commanded Shenya to summon the door again. Shenya noticed the statue was turning to dust, and the voice confirmed that the door now belonged to him. The voice further elaborated that the door could appear because of his World Link ability. It also revealed that because Shenya had been so polite when he first went through the door, he had earned the title Polite Person. Shenya observed it was a gray, damaged title that, when equipped, granted a bonus where people would have a slightly better impression of him when he was polite. He mused that it seemed like a kind of equipable passive skill. The mysterious voice grew weaker, warning Shenya to be very careful. It stated that whoever used the cursed statue would return once they realized he was still alive, and they might already be on their way. Shenya demanded to know who the voice was and why it was helping him. The voice replied that it needed him. The voice explained that the world Shenya had stumbled into was called the Nightmare Realm, which was also the world where the voice was trapped. It urged Shenya to grow stronger, to reach the depths of the Nightmare Realm and set it free. In return, it promised a handsome reward. Its final words were a command for Shenya not to die until then. Shenya clicked his tongue in frustration. He had barely crossed over into this world, and already someone wanted him dead. He searched Shenya's memories but found no clues about who would want to kill an ordinary middle schooler. With no means of defense, he decided his only option was to go back through the door and see if he could acquire a new title. The only problem was the terrifying skeleton he had seen in there. He resolved to go in anyway, reasoning that the worst-case scenario was a quick retreat, and as long as he stayed near the door, the skeleton shouldn't be able to catch him. A new, brilliantly unwise plan formed in his mind. He considered that the skeleton was strong and he couldn't beat it, but perhaps he could talk to it. He decided that communication was the cornerstone of humanity, and a skeleton was a dead person, and a dead person was technically still human. With unwavering and somewhat misguided confidence, he planned to negotiate with the skeleton to help him fend off his unknown enemies. He felt his chances were pretty good, especially with his Polite Person title equipped. Yi equipped the Polite Person title and stepped back through the door into the Nightmare Realm. He offered his sincerest apologies to the skeleton for interrupting its meal earlier. Observing that the title seemed to be working, he expressed his desire to actually become its friend. The skeleton responded with immediate violence. As Shenya dodged the attack, he lamented that the skeleton had to be so violent when all he wanted was a little chat. He noted that if the door was destroyed, it would simply vanish. He internally cursed the gray title as trash and wondered what new title he had earned from this encounter. Realizing he could not farm titles endlessly and that the skeleton blocking the door was a major problem, Shenya felt a sense of urgency. An assassin could show up at any moment in his world, and he had no time to waste. He resolved to bet everything on the fast-talking skills from his past life as a top-tier salesman. He stepped through the door once more, greeting the skeleton with a polite "excuse me" and a "sorry to bother you," declaring he was back and would close the deal. He pointed out that they could only talk, as the skeleton could not eat him, and he could freely travel between their worlds. He asked if the skeleton was interested in hearing his proposition. When the skeleton began to turn away, Shenya urgently called for it to wait. He pointed out its injuries, noting that new bone had been slowly growing from a break in its left arm as it was chomping down on people. He observed that its left arm, skull, ribs, and spine were all damaged. Shenya laid out his proposal. He could not let the skeleton eat him, but his world had tons of stuff great for bones, like calcium tablets specifically designed to heal them. He offered to help buy such supplements if they became friends, claiming they were way more nutritious than he was. He referenced a saying from his world about taking a bullet for a friend, though he mused that for a skeleton, taking a bullet probably wouldn't be an issue. He finally asked the skeleton what it said. The skeleton did not verbally respond, but instead produced a contract. Shenya was shocked to see it was a contract, and noted it had some serious confidentiality clauses. He was puzzled by the ellipses after its name, guessing it was just a low-ranking pencil pusher. Upon reading his own name on the contract, Shenya was surprised to see he was kind of a big deal. Back in his own world, Shenya's parents fussed over him. They told him, now that he was out of the hospital, to tell them immediately if he felt unwell, and to just take it easy at home for a few days. They gave him a tonic to drink on an empty stomach and the calcium tablets he had asked for. Shenya thanked his mom and dad. His father replied that there was no need to thank them, and that his health and safety were all that mattered. Shenya was inwardly moved, reflecting that he was an orphan in his past life, and it was nice to feel cared for by a family. The moment was interrupted by a knock at the door. Two individuals announced they were from the East Precinct and were there about Shenya's case. Police officers spoke with Shenya and his parents. They explained that incidents like the one Shenya experienced occur countless times every year, are completely unpredictable, and all one can do is accept their fate. They expressed relief that Shenya had recovered, calling it a blessing amidst the misfortune. After the officers left, Shenya was deeply unsettled. He wondered if everyone was just supposed to leave such things to fate. He reflected that the curse from the wicked Ghost King statue was so powerful that not only could the police do nothing, even the government found it troublesome. He noted it was obvious the police were terrified and preferred to keep their distance. The central question remained: why would anyone use something so powerful against a normal middle schooler? One of the officers, Sergeant Luo Feichuan, returned alone. He gave Shenya his card, instructing him to call directly if anything felt off. Shenya was surprised to see the sergeant's 3-star badge, noting his youth. He thanked him but voiced his worry that someone was targeting him. Sergeant Luo assured him they had found no one with a grudge against a middle schooler with such a simple social circle before taking his leave. Shenya considered the sergeant. He guessed that not everyone in the police force was useless, and that Luo Feichuan seemed to be acting outside of strict orders. However, he doubted what a single sergeant could do if the entire police force and government were powerless. The urgency of his situation pressed on him. Now that his survival was known, his enemy would not let it slide. He worried they might even go after his family. His resolve hardened. He needed to get stronger, as soon as possible. Shenya immediately went to his room and summoned the door. He cheerfully called out for Big Skelly, announcing he had brought the promised calcium tablets. The giant skeleton, however, seemed uninterested in the supplements. It pointed a bony finger at the tonic Shenya's mother had given him. A notification appeared, informing Shenya that the other party desired the tonic in his possession. As a battlefield acquisition officer, the giant skeleton was offering a relic from an enemy soldier from its collection of war spoils in exchange for the tonic. The item was a low-tier nightmare crystal, a relic crafted by high elves, which could directly instill knowledge, skills, techniques, or intel into the user. Shenya was ecstatic, thinking a crystal that granted knowledge and skills sounded incredibly cool, and he immediately agreed to the trade. Using the crystal, Shenya learned the technique Moonlit Deer Walk, a primary movement technique used by elven soldiers designed to counter the undead. He was thrilled with the trade, having never thought a single tonic could net him an elven movement technique. At least now he had a way to defend himself. As he prepared to practice, he noticed a pair of eyes watching him from the dark space beyond the door. He called out, annoyed that despite their contract, the skeleton was still being secretive. Dismissing it, he focused on practicing Moonlit Deer Walk. A system prompt appeared, stating the first form, Evasion, required 3 agility points. An assessment revealed Shenya only had 2 agility points. He was frustrated, comparing it to a video game and wondering how to increase his stats. Hearing his parents return, Shenya hurriedly went to his room to avoid suspicion. Unbeknownst to him, a mysterious figure watched from the shadows. Intrigued that he was still alive and wondering how it was possible, the figure resolved to find out why Shenya was even more interesting than before. Shenya was practicing in his room when a man in black suddenly burst through the window, brandishing a knife. The man declared that Shenya could just die already. Shenya instinctively dodged, thinking this was the assassin he had been warned about, and they had sent someone already. He attempted to use the moonlit deer walk technique, but found he still could not activate it. The assassin mocked his footwork as a parlor trick, and boasted that it would not save him from a bullet. In that moment of desperation, a friendly reminder appeared in Shenya's mind, informing him that titles could be consumed to gain status points. Shenya was exasperated that this information had not been provided sooner. He immediately consumed his gray, broken rank polite person title, gaining 1 status point which he allocated to agility, raising it from 2 to 3. The first form of moonlit deer walk, evasion, finally became available. With his new ability, Shenya effortlessly evaded the assassin's next lunge. The assassin grumbled that he was like a slippery fish. Spotting the floating door to the nightmare realm, Shenya realized it was a secret passage. He taunted the assassin, saying, "Later, Mr. Assassin," and dove through the door to safety. The assassin, left swinging at empty air, vowed that Shenya would die. On the other side, Shenya caught his breath, reflecting that it was way too close and that more assassins were probably coming. He knew he couldn't waste any time and needed to find self-defense cards quickly. The giant skeleton noticed his return. A notification informed Shenya that his sacrifice of a living creature, the assassin he had led to the door, had pleased the other party. Adhering to the principle of equal exchange, the skeleton offered items in return. Shenya received 2 green, excellent quality items at once. The Pale Shadow Crown, an item imbued with high-level stealth from the elf race but crafted by the undead, and a silver war medal, a symbol of honor that would teleport the wearer to elven territory. Shenya laughed, thinking the skeleton was a pragmatist. It had wanted to eat him at first, but now that it saw the value in trading, it was showering him with goodies. He equipped the Pale Shadow Crown and was amazed to find that it actually worked, turning him invisible. He was thrilled, planning to head straight for the elven territory to loot everything as soon as he got another title. His excitement was cut short by a knock at his bedroom door. He worried that it was another assassin. Shenya's friend, Chen Haoyu, visited him at home, rushing in to hug him tightly. Haoyu was relieved Shenya was okay but also racked with guilt, believing it was his fault Shenya got dragged into the mess that put him in the hospital. Shenya assured him it was not his fault and that he was perfectly fine now. Shenya's mother entered and greeted Haoyu warmly. Shenya asked where his father was, and his mother explained he had gone to see Grandpa to try and get more of the super rare tonic. Haoyu was impressed, noting that even rich people couldn't always get that stuff and that Shenya's family had serious connections. Shenya laughed it off, saying it took a lot of effort. Haoyu encouraged Shenya to get better in time for the high school exams. This triggered Shenya's realization that the original owner of his body was a middle schooler facing crucial exams. He recalled that due to the curse, Shenya had missed the first strength test while hospitalized. Haoyu blamed himself for this, but Shenya's mother reassured him that if Shenya performed well on the upcoming agility test, he could still get into a decent school. Shenya processed this new information, understanding that this world's exams tested physical stats like strength and agility, which explained the requirements for his moonlit deer walk technique. He immediately saw the danger, realizing that going to school was like painting a target on his back for the assassins. He considered just giving up on the exams entirely. Seeing his hesitation, his mother gently told him that if he didn't want to take the exams, that was okay, and they just wanted him safe and sound. Her unconditional support, coupled with the flood of Shenya's memories revealing how hard his parents had worked and likely begged his grandfather for the expensive tonic, solidified his resolve. He declared he was going to school the next day to join the review sessions. At school the next day, Shenya felt some relief, reasoning that no assassin would dare make a move in such a crowded place, and that a good high school would have powerful teachers for protection. He was studying the unique curriculum when a classmate informed him that Zhao Yibing was looking for him in the hallway. Zhao Yibing, a friend who used to constantly pester the original Shenya about studying, approached him. She mentioned she had done well on the first exam and was confident about getting into the provincial elite high school. After a terse congratulations from Shenya, she told him he shouldn't come looking for her anymore, stating they were from different worlds and would run out of things to talk about. She suggested they end their relationship but remain friends. This public declaration sparked gossip among the onlookers, who assumed the school beauty was dumping Shenya now that he had missed an exam. Shenya, however, saw through her act. He coldly retorted that he had never wanted to be friends with her in the first place, and told her to stop pestering him so he could study in peace. The crowd was shocked, accusing him of being a disappointment. Shenya recognized her tears as a guilt-tripping tactic, and decided to use his top-tier salesman skills to turn the tables. He pointed out that he had never sought her out, and that accepting gifts was not the same as accepting a person. He declared he had the right to find someone better and offered to pay her back for the gifts, stating he had nothing more to say to her. His final, crushing words were that she shouldn't even think about them being friends. After his confrontation with Zhao Yibing, Shenya found himself the target of his classmates' anger. They called him a jerk, the worst, and a scumbag for publicly embarrassing her, shouting at him not to walk away from her feelings. Zhao Yibing herself insisted they were not done talking, but her friends pulled her away, telling her Shenya wasn't worth it. Privately, she was furious that his rebuttal had made her look like the one who got dumped, completely ruining her reputation in front of everyone. As Shenya tried to leave, he was blocked by Sun Ming, the number 3 student in the class. Sun Ming arrogantly informed Shenya that he had gotten much stronger and was no longer the top student. He demanded Shenya apologize to Zhao Yibing immediately or risk broken bones. Shenya calmly explained that Zhao Yibing was the one who had asked to see him, and that he wasn't bothering her. With an exasperated sigh, Shenya turned and offered a sarcastic apology to Zhao Yibing, telling her to feel free to keep pestering him if she wanted. Zhao Yibing flusteredly tried to backtrack, saying she wasn't trying to force him and that he shouldn't listen to Sun Ming, before internally panicking over her own words and blaming Sun Ming for messing with her head. Enraged by the dismissive apology, Sun Ming launched a powerful kick at Shenya, declaring he would teach him a lesson. Shenya effortlessly dodged the attack. The onlookers were stunned, noting he seemed far more agile than Sun Ming, and that even without putting power behind it, his reaction speed was incredible. Before the fight could escalate further, a teacher arrived and broke up the gathering, sternly ordering everyone to head to the field for the mock exams that were about to start. The students dispersed, many lamenting that they didn't get to see the epic fight. While waiting in the long line for the agility test, Shenya's friend Chen Haoyu suggested they sneak off to a new comic shop behind the school. This reminded Shenya that he had been too tired the previous night and had forgotten to collect his daily title from the Nightmare Realm. Seeing a perfect opportunity, he feigned a stomachache and asked Haoyu to save his spot so he could go to the restroom. Shenya ducked into a secluded area and summoned the door. He stepped through, wondering where the giant skeleton had wandered off to. His search was cut short when he stumbled upon the body of the assassin who had attacked him at home. He found the assassin's pistol, noting it was loaded. He was thrilled to have a weapon to defend himself in the elven territory, even though he had never used a gun before. He decided to offer the assassin's body to the skeleton as a sacrifice. A notification appeared, stating that his sacrifice of a living creature had pleased the other party. Adhering to the principle of equal exchange, the skeleton offered an item in return. The item was a human token, which the mysterious voice from his dreams identified as something that could win him favors. Shenya was pleased with this pragmatic trade, thinking this was a much better way to treat the mysterious voice than with pointless posts. Shenya used the silver war medal, which teleported him to the elven territory. He felt disoriented, his head spinning as he wondered if the teleportation had worked. He also noted the strange dagger given to him by the mysterious voice was now in his possession. He was immediately greeted by 3 figures wearing the same pale shadow crown as him. One of them complained that he had finally arrived, noting they would have had to declare the mission a failure if he had been any later. Shenya made a quick excuse about a hiccup causing his delay. He observed that the 3 were not actually elves but undead in disguise, just like him. The undead explained they had already gained the elf tribe's trust by posing as heroic soldiers recovering from injuries. They declared the plan was to strike that night, kill the chief, and seize their treasures. One of them, addressing Shenya as Fern, asked if he was ready. Shenya, playing along, confirmed he was and that his hands were itching for action. When one of the undead adjusted his crown and nearly exposed his true form, the leader scolded him, warning that revealing their undead nature would mean certain death. Shenya internally connected the dots, realizing the giant skeleton's name was Fern, and that it had dumped this dangerous mission on him. The group moved at an incredible speed toward the elf village. Shenya struggled to keep up, noting how strong the undead were. They explained that to enter the village, he needed the chief's permission, a step that was risk-free and only required showing his medal. Upon reaching the gates, the undead vouched for him, and the elf guards, seeing his Silver War medal, granted him entry as a valiant soldier from the front lines. The undead then revealed the true plan. While the three of them covered him from outside, Shenya was to go in alone and assassinate the chief. Shenya was horrified, realizing this was a suicide mission. He knew that if he refused, the undead would likely kill him on the spot. He internally cursed the skeleton fern for setting him up to take the fall. An elf guard escorted him, stating the chief was expecting him. The other undead told him to go on ahead and that they would wait for him there, which Shenya correctly interpreted as them making sure he didn't run away. As he was led deeper into the village, Shenya lamented being caught in an undead elf feud. However, a small part of him considered that if he somehow pulled this off, he might score an awesome title. He then remembered his door's ability to analyze the titles of other beings. He used this ability on the elf chief. A staggering list of titles appeared. 35th of the myriad forests, heir to the ancient tree throne, nature's mighty lord, grandmaster of arcane arts, guardian of the nightmare realm, one of the 5 world heads. Shenya was utterly terrified, realizing how naive he was to think he could actually assassinate this being. He looked at his own meager title, polite person, and knew he was completely outmatched. He vowed to remember this betrayal from the skeleton fern. Shenya was brought before the elf chief, a powerful and graceful woman. She thanked the young and valiant soldier for his service and invited him to rest in the village and enjoy the celebratory feast that was about to begin. He rejoined the 3 undead, who told him to eat and rest. They informed him that the chief would be joining the feast, and that was when he should make his move, while they would cover for him. Shenya saw through their plan, knowing they intended to use the chaos of the assassination to escape, leaving him to face the consequences. He knew waiting was tantamount to suicide and had to do something. At the feast, in a desperate move, Shenya approached the chief and asked her for a dance. She accepted, graciously offering to lead him. As they danced, Shenya was internally panicking, lamenting that he was about to die and that under different circumstances, dancing with such a beautiful elf would be pure bliss. The chief noticed his silence, wondering if the brutal battles on the front lines had disturbed his peace of mind. Shenya quickly recovered, apologizing for his terrible dancing. He then offered to perform a magic trick for her as an apology. Intrigued, the chief, whose name was revealed to be Lanny, agreed. Shenya announced to the entire feast that he would perform a magic trick they had never seen before, proclaiming he could transform himself into a human. The elves were fascinated, having never seen such magic. Shenya removed his pale shadow crown. His pointed elf ears and arched eyebrows reverted to their human form, stunning the crowd. He then revealed the true nature of the trick, explaining that he could become human because he took off the crown, and that his 3 brothers could also perform this feat. He dramatically declared that as long as they took off their crowns, they would become undead. The revelation caused an immediate uproar. The elf guards sprang into action, shouting for everyone to be on alert. In the ensuing chaos, Shenya told Lanny he would be right back after his brothers transformed, and then he would turn back into an elf. He bid her a quick farewell and fled into the crowd. The 3 undead assassins were swiftly surrounded. They tried to claim a misunderstanding and show their badges, but it was too late. Lanny examined the pale shadow crown, noting it carried a constant, high-level shadow magic from the dark abyss that exceeded her expectations. She realized this was how the undead had been infiltrating the villages, and that they could now study the crown to find a countermeasure. One of the undead, realizing their plan had completely backfired, muttered that Fern would not be coming back. Lanny coldly confirmed this, stating that he would not be coming back at all. Shenya fled the elven village and returned to the nightmare realm, finding his door had cleverly disguised itself to suit the environment. He reflected that the ordeal had been far too risky and was a lesson he needed to remember. He immediately confronted the giant skeleton, Fern, angrily shouting that while he was risking his life, Fern was having a feast. He was shocked when Fern spoke to him in a human language, asking if he was still alive. Shenya accused Fern of intentionally giving him the pale shadow crown to get him killed. Fern, with a tone of genuine curiosity, asked how he had survived and demanded to know everything. Shenya retorted that it wasn't about a reward anymore and that he held grudges. A system notification appeared, stating that the other party was quite sincere and, adhering to the principle of equal exchange, had prepared a powerful undead spell for him. Shenya was indignant, feeling that Fern was trying to buy him off and insulting his character. Fern then explained his reasoning. He gave Shenya the crown because he was human, and elves and humans are allies, giving him a chance of survival that an undead like Fern would never have. Another notification appeared, stating that as an apology, Fern was exceeding the principle of equal exchange by gifting him a legacy nightmare crystal. The crystal contained 3 top-tier evolutionary undead talents, and Shenya could choose one to integrate into his soul. Fern emphasized the immense value of this crystal, the foundation of the undead race, and revealed that the elves had spared Shenya specifically because they wanted it. He laughed maniacally at the irony of giving this precious opportunity to a human. Shenya, after a theatrical cough, declared himself a man of principle, but, given Fern's sincerity, would forgive him this once. He then examined the 3 talents, Dark Whispers, force the dead to answer a question. Sacred Remains Body, gain 5 seconds of immunity to fatal damage after being killed, undead. Resurrection, revive a fallen undead. Shenya analyzed his options. He dismissed Undead Resurrection as useless to him currently, and Sacred Remains Body as only a temporary delay. He chose Dark Whispers, reasoning that obtaining information was the fastest way to find out who wanted him dead. Fern was surprised by his choice, noting that in his memory, past undead monarchs never chose that talent as it doesn't quickly form combat power. With the talent successfully integrated, Shenya could now sense the whispers of the undead. He then pressed Fern for details on what exactly happened, as it was very important to him. Fern explained that the original assassination target was supposed to be a female elven priestess. Shenya was horrified, realizing the chief he met was the strongest high priest of the entire elven race, which explained her incredible list of titles. He then realized that with the 3 undead knights captured, their surveillance on him was broken, presenting his only chance to act freely. As Fern wandered off, muttering about his own troubles, Shenya decided to focus on his own gains. He checked his new daily title, One of Us. A green, excellent quality title that could make a target regard him as an ally for 10 seconds. He was also pleased with Lanny's bracelet, a green quality accessory that could slowly increase his spiritual power. With his new pistol, short sword, title, and bracelet, he felt he had a great haul and needed to stash them away safely. The mock exams at school continued with the agility test. Shenya's friend, Chen Haoyu, went first, but was hit in the head by the water guns, scoring only 11 points and becoming the subject of ridicule. When it was Shenya's turn, he moved with incredible speed and grace, effortlessly dodging every stream of paint. The onlookers were stunned, noting how relaxed he looked, and that he seemed even faster since returning from the hospital. Shenya internally credited his ease to all the experience he had gained, using just a little of his moonlit deer walk technique to make the test simple. He scored a perfect in agility. A teacher and the director, Qian, observed his performance. The director acknowledged Shenya's talent in agility, but noted it was a shame he missed the first strength exam. He stated that for Shenya to have a chance, he would need a perfect score on the final test. Mental power. The other teacher felt this requirement was too high, remembering Shenya's mental power was previously quite average. During the lunch break, while others went to eat, Shenya returned to the classroom to study. He was immediately overwhelmed by the curriculum. While math and science were familiar, the history and literature of this new world were completely different, causing a headache as different memories fought in his head. His studying was interrupted by Sun Ming and several other students. Sun Ming declared that while Shenya was away, his own strength had broken through to a level 2. He challenged Shenya to a fight to see who the real #1 student was, claiming Zhao Yibing had cried and begged them to help her vent her anger. Seeing he was outnumbered, Shenya quickly equipped his green title, One of Us, and activated it. The title's ally effect took hold, and the group's attitude instantly softened. They agreed that since they were all allies now, they wouldn't do anything. Shenya was relieved this was just a student fight, and none of them were the assassins trying to kill him. However, the title's effect only lasted for 10 seconds. As the effect wore off, the students' hostility returned, and they shouted that they were going to kill him. Shenya lamented that the title, which could only be used once a day, was useless in this situation. In a moment of desperation, he thought about consuming the title itself. A notification confirmed the consumption was successful. The green trait was absorbed, granting him 3 attribute points. A friendly reminder also appeared, stating that he could freely reallocate the attribute point he had previously added to his agility. Shenya was ecstatic at this discovery, realizing he could instantly switch his build. He allocated all 4 points to his strength, increasing it from 1.2 to 5.2. Just as the title's effect fully faded, Sun Ming stepped forward, taunting Shenye not to run away and to fight him fair and square. Empowered by his newfound strength, Shenye calmly faced Sun Ming and asked him how many ribs he was ready to break. Sudden aggressive assault unfolds as Raxus lunges forward, his expression contorted in surprise as he targets Kalen. Kalen, embodying the raw potential of an individual whose strength and agility surpass the average untrained adult's baseline of 1, reacts with impressive speed and precision. The confrontation is swift and intense, Kalen's defensive maneuvers seamlessly transitioning into a powerful counter. Raxus is caught off guard, his momentum disrupted, as Kalen expertly deflects or evades the attack, sending Raxus stumbling backward amidst a flurry of motion. Following Kalen's expert deflection, Raxus crashes to the floor amidst the overturned classroom furniture, groaning in agony and cursing Shenye as a bastard. Bystanders Jin, Hao, Wei, and Ren watch in stunned disbelief, exclaiming that Kalen's strength must surpass even Sun Ming's, as he took a punch without flinching and broke free from Ma Bian's hold effortlessly. They question the impossible display of power. Kalen stands over his fallen aggressor, a faint reddish-orange aura emanating from him, reflecting the true nature of strength not merely as raw muscle, but as the resilience of bones, organs, meridians, and the explosive force of one's life force. He internally laments the petty jealousy driving these attacks, especially with high school entrance exams approaching. Kalen then seizes Ma Bian by the collar, Ma Bian's face contorted in a plea for forgiveness, acknowledging their mistake. Kalen confronts him, stating that he would have hospitalized any other student or even his old self, before sternly questioning how they could expect forgiveness after humiliating and beating someone, attempting to ruin their future. With a powerful, resounding impact, Kalen delivers a decisive kick, eliciting a loud cry of pain and a desperate yell for help from another unseen attacker. As the dust settles from Kalen's decisive kick, Mr. Fang, a muscular teacher, bursts into the now chaotic classroom, his eyes wide with astonishment at the scene before him. A crowd of startled students presses in behind him, their faces reflecting his shock. The classroom is a wreck. Furniture is overturned, and several students lie injured on the floor, streaks of blood marring the tiles. Amidst this carnage, Kalen sits on the floor, his face tear-stained and distraught, suddenly claiming he was the victim of bullying. Nearby, Ma Bian lies battered, his face swollen and nearly unrecognizable, while Raxus remains sprawled out, similarly beaten. Mr. Fang, reeling from this stark contrast to Kalen's previous actions, expresses his disbelief, questioning Kalen's claim of bullying when he had so clearly beaten his attackers to a pulp. Elsewhere, Mei, a dark-haired student, observes the unfolding drama, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and calculation. She reflects on her significant miscalculation, realizing the combined efforts of the bullies were utterly inadequate against Kalen. Beside her, Bingbing looks on with a furrowed brow. Mei further ponders Kalen's astonishing strength, acknowledging that regardless of its source, the event is now complete. She then turns to Bingbing, her gaze sharp, inquiring if she regrets her actions. Mei's internal monologue begins with a fleeting thought of regret, a wistful memory of a younger version of herself, adorned with a red ribbon in her hair, holding hands with Shenye in a sun-dappled school hallway. In this idealized flashback, Mei wonders if their path could have been different, if she had only encouraged him back then, promised to stay in touch through high school. This moment of longing quickly dissipates as Mei returns to the grim reality of the present, her thoughts hardening with the conviction that there is no going back. She observes Ma Bian, battered and bruised with a bandaged leg, being carefully maneuvered onto a stretcher by orderly Cheng and orderly Tao, his swollen face a testament to Kalen's overwhelming force. Mei coldly calculates the fallout of the incident, noting Kalen has caused a massive disturbance, injuring numerous students, an act that will surely revoke his qualification for the high school exams. A chilling sense of victory settles over her as she acknowledges her goal is achieved, confirming Shenye's life is ruined, and her own future is now wide open. She then sharply turns to Bingbing, who stands beside her, appearing visibly shaken. Mei commands Bingbing's attention, urging her to look at the consequences, while internally expressing her only regret, not seeing Shenye for the loser he truly is much sooner. Bingbing remains visibly shaken as Mei commands her attention, urging her to truly look at the consequences unfolding before them. Meanwhile, on the stretcher, Ma Bian's injured eyes snap open, fixing on an unseen point as he utters a name, Sun Ming, in disbelief. His thoughts race, questioning if the idiot means to drag him deeper into this mess, protesting the intense stare and demanding silence. The internal turmoil escalates, a furious mental command for the unseen figure to keep its mouth shut and die, rapidly replaced by a desperate "no, please don't," and a raw, drawn-out cry of no. Orderly Chung and Orderly Tao continue to maneuver Ma Bian's stretcher through the crowded school hallway, past a multitude of wide-eyed students who stare in stunned silence. Mei watches the procession, her expression impassive, as Bingbing, beside her, becomes increasingly overwhelmed by the grim spectacle. Mei's earlier words about facing the consequences land with full force as Bingbing's eyes well up. Tears begin to stream down her face, and a soft sob escapes her lips, her emotional state shattered by the scene. Bingbing's emotional turmoil culminates in a loud wail as she urgently dials on her phone. She cries out, placing full blame on Shenye for Sun Ming's plight and announcing her intention to call the police, attempting to inform authorities of their location. The chaotic atmosphere spreads, reaching a classroom where Shenye stands, a pensive expression on his face. He realizes the cunning strategy of Zhao Yibing, who is not only distancing herself from the incident, but simultaneously implicating him. Standing next to Shenye, Mr. Jiang, an agitated teacher, wipes sweat from his brow, his thoughts racing, as he acknowledges the increasing number of police calls from students, signifying the situation has spiraled beyond control. He immediately takes charge, loudly commanding everyone to disperse and return to their studies. Turning his attention directly to Shenye, Mr. Zhang instructs him to come to the office. Shenye, with a slightly resigned nod, acknowledges Mr. Jiang's directive. Mr. Fang, a man with a mustache and glasses, walks energetically down a gleaming hallway, enthusiastically trying to persuade Mr. Qian, who strolls beside him with a detached calm, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Mr. Fang insists their students are top-notch and urges Mr. Qian to consider signing a few of them. Mr. Qian, with long dark hair and dark glasses, calmly explains that while he wants to help, the students simply do not meet their group's minimum standards, leaving him unable to proceed. He then states he has other engagements and announces his departure. As Mr. Qian prepares to leave, a panicked Ms. Lin rushes up to them, breathlessly informing Mr. Fang, the principal, that Shenye and Sun Ming have been in a fight and the police have arrived at the school. Mr. Fang, visibly annoyed, questions the necessity of being informed about student brawls, claiming he is busy. Ms. Lin urgently presses him, insisting he must see the video that Shenye recorded of the incident. Mr. Fang dismisses it as a mere middle school fight, questioning what there is to see. But as he and Mr. Qian view the footage on Ms. Lin's phone, their expressions quickly change to wide-eyed astonishment. Police officers now review the startling footage on the phone, one officer contemplating the scene with a thoughtful expression. Officer Kim, holding the device, then questions Shenye, asking if he had planned to record the entire confrontation from the beginning. A concerned Shenye, his blue hair slightly disheveled, admits he feared for his life and recorded out of self-preservation. Officer Kim, his expression stern, counters that Shenye was the one who nearly beat his attackers to death. Despite the clear video evidence, Officer Kim informs Shenye that he must accompany them, explaining that the final outcome will depend on the injury assessment. Mr. Fang, now fully aware of the situation and agitated, steps forward to interject. He protests that Shenye has already missed one exam due to an anomaly, and being taken away now would cause him to miss another. Mr. Fang argues passionately, questioning the need for further investigation when video evidence already exists. Officer Kim attempts to reassure him, promising they only need Shenye for questioning for a few days, provided the injuries are not severe. Internally, Shenye considers how to utilize this situation to his advantage, planning to switch stat points to allow his body to adapt to recent changes. Mr. Fang, still distressed, fears for Shenye's future if he is taken away. Suddenly, Mr. Qian appears, walking through a doorway behind them, his dark hair flowing, and casually remarks that Shenye's phone recording was a smart move, as without it, the severe injuries would surely lead to his expulsion. A police officer, startled by the arrival of the principal, exclaims that Mr. Fang is finally here. Mr. Qian, with a cigarette dangling from his lips, explains that Shenye is physically far superior to his opponents, making any fight with them pointless. Mr. Fang, surprised by Mr. Qian's presence and insight, utters his name in astonishment. Mr. Qian, having just entered and addressed the situation, now speaks directly to Shenya, informing him that he viewed the video of the confrontation. He clarifies that he only caught half of it but observed Shenya was clearly holding back his full strength. Shenya confirms this, admitting he was afraid of killing someone during the fight. Mr. Chien then commends Shenya as a remarkably upstanding young man, noting his perfect score in the agility simulation test earlier, which alone makes him worthy of Mr. Chien's recommendation. Expressing a desire to speak further, Mr. Chien extends a hand with a business card. Shenya takes the card, his eyes widening as he reads the details. Human Martial Arts Group, Regional Director, Chien Rushan. The revelation of the Human Martial Arts Group deeply impacts Shenya as he reflects on its significance. He recognizes it as an organization holding the key to vast martial arts knowledge, possessing an extensive library of intellectual property and copyrights for countless techniques. For an ordinary individual, gaining entry into the Human Martial Arts Group is akin to winning a lottery, representing a singular opportunity to transcend the mundane. This, Shenya realizes, is a direct path to greatness. His gaze sharpens as he looks at the powerful man before him. Recognizing Mr. Chien's complete impenetrability, Shenya acknowledges that no matter how he distributed his stats, he could not even lay a finger on him. Mr. Chien, observing Shenya, informs him that the Cybernetics system, this world's super AI that precisely assesses a person's overall capabilities, estimates Shenya's strength at a minimum of 4.5. He then asks for Shenya's exact strength number. Internally, Shenya marvels at Mr. Chien's strength and considers the advantage of having such a protector, believing he would no longer need to worry about assassins. With a determined expression, Shenya provides his strength score, 5. Both Mr. Fang and Coach Jean, another man present, react with visible shock at Shenya's astounding declaration. Mr. Chien, observing Shenya, declares his strength score of 5 as truly impressive and remarkable. Shenya, however, questions if a strength stat of 5 is truly significant. Mr. Chien explains that for a middle schooler, a 4.5 strength is enough to warrant attention, but 5 is a different matter entirely. He reveals that a strength of 5 enables Shenya to operate certain combat mechs, and even wield some of the broken, standard-issue ancient weapons. Adding to this, Mr. Chien reminds Shenya that his perfect score on the agility test already secures him a recommendation slot. He then extends an invitation for Shenya to join his group, and offers to arrange a retest for his strength. Shenya expresses his surprise at the possibility of a retest. Mr. Chien clarifies that while retests are not normally allowed, their group possesses the authority to request special re-examinations from the Education Bureau to ensure no talent like Shenya is overlooked. Enthusiastically, Shenya affirms his desire to join. Mr. Chien declares the matter settled, assuring Shenya that someone will be in touch to finalize the arrangements. He then casually dismisses the earlier brawl, telling Shenya not to worry about it, and promises to schedule the retest at a time convenient for him. Shenya expresses his gratitude. Mr. Chien, changing the subject, asks Shenya about his psychic power stat, explaining it is merely out of curiosity as his exceptional strength and agility already guarantee his assessment. Internally, Shenya considers that he cannot excel at everything, and decides that 3 points in psychic power should be sufficient. He then states his psychic power score is 3. This pronouncement sends a fresh wave of shock through Mr. Fang, Coach Jian and Officer Li, who exclaim their astonishment, having believed Shenya's psychic power was merely average. Mr. Chien, with a glint in his eye, then challenges Shenya to demonstrate his psychic power, suggesting he try to move a nearby chair. Shenya calmly accepts. As Shenya accepts the challenge to demonstrate his psychic ability, blue energy crackles around him. He extends a hand towards the nearby office chair, focusing intently and internally affirming his capability to manifest his psychic power to a 3-point level. The chair begins to levitate, bathed in the same ethereal glow. Observing this, Officer Lee signals to his team to pack up, prompting Officer Kim to express surprise and ask if they are truly leaving already. Officer Lee, facing away, clarifies that Shenya's exceptional stats, a strength of 5, a perfect agility score suggesting at least 4 points, and now a confirmed psychic power of 3, make him a talent far beyond their jurisdiction, signaling he is destined for greatness. Officer Kim, seeking clarity, asks for a deeper explanation of what this implies. Officer Lee responds that such a prodigious talent is simply beyond what they are meant to handle, reiterating the command to depart. With the officers making their exit, Shenya stands with a subtle smile, his hand now resting on the office chair, which has returned to the floor. He inwardly acknowledges his sustained effort, noting that this brief display was the extent of his current psychic endurance. Mr. Qian, with his long dark hair and sunglasses, throws an arm around Shen Ye, laughing heartily as he declares his astonishment at such a momentous day. He bursts into a heartfelt song, a lyrical narrative of a beggar's transformation, whose voice now calls to the gods, destined to soar to realms of endless light. Two other men approach, their faces beaming with excitement. Mr. Liu, clad in a red shirt, claps his hands, announcing it as a lucky day for both Shen and himself. Beside him, Mr. Zhao, an older gentleman with glasses and a mustache, applauds vigorously, praising the beautiful singing and exclaiming that he has never heard such an exquisite voice. Shen Ye shifts uncomfortably, remarking on the awkwardness of the situation, and admitting he doesn't know how to sing if expected to join. Mr. Qian then turns to the two gentlemen, politely requesting a private word with Shen Ye. Mr. Zhao readily agrees, assuring Mr. Qian to take his time. With a deliberate clunk and click, Mr. Qian produces a cigarette and lights it, drawing a puff. He then turns his gaze to Shen Ye, inquiring about his goal in life. Shen Ye, after a slight pause, responds that Mr. Qian's name is his goal. Mr. Qian smiles, then presses further, asking what Shen Ye's heart truly yearns for. The panel opens with an ethereal, bald figure looming in the background, a single eye glowing as a deep primal yearning echoes. Shen Ye, his brow furrowed, responds to Mr. Qian's inquiry about his deepest desires. He articulates a profound wish to become strong enough to prevent anyone from ever pushing him around again, and to protect himself and his family. Mr. Qian, a smile playing on his lips, laughs heartily, affirming Shen Ye's ambition. He proclaims that today marks the auspicious beginning of Shen Ye's journey towards that dream, then abruptly challenges him to attack. Shen Ye, taken aback, recoils slightly, calling Mr. Qian a creepy, greasy old man. Mr. Qian clarifies his instruction, emphasizing that he means a physical attack, with fists, not words. Reluctantly, Shen Ye agrees, expressing an apology beforehand. With newfound resolve, Shen Ye mentally commands himself to reallocate points to strength, and a red, fiery aura erupts around his fist as he lunges forward. His powerful punch heads directly for Mr. Qian. However, just as the blow is about to connect, Mr. Qian reacts with a swift, subtle movement. A burst of yellow electrical energy crackles around Shen Ye, freezing him mid-swing. Shen Ye is utterly stunned, realizing he is completely immobilized. Mr. Qian, calm and composed, stands over the frozen Shen Ye, explaining that this is a technique designed to immobilize an attacker, and it is a crucial skill for self-protection. He asks if Shen Ye wishes to learn it. Shen Ye, still amazed by the display of power, eagerly affirms his desire to master the technique. Mr. Qian nods, then warns Shen Ye to watch closely, revealing that there is more to come as he smoothly pulls a pistol from his pocket, holding it with a focused expression. As Mr. Qian holds the pistol, he cocks it with a distinct click, causing Shen Ye to recoil slightly, his eyes wide with terror. Mr. Qian then fires the weapon, and a brilliant flash erupts from the barrel. Just as the bullet races forward, Mr. Qian demonstrates another secret technique from his organization, one he reveals is capable of blocking all sorts of projectiles, even resisting sniper fire. A single bullet is shown frozen mid-air next to Mr. Qian's head, encased in rings of blue electrical energy, while he remains calm and composed, nonchalantly holding a lit cigarette. Shen Ye, still observing Mr. Qian's impossible display, muses that there is no unbreakable defense in the martial world, only attacks too fast to counter. Mr. Qian, seemingly impressed by Shen Ye's astute observation, playfully asks where he learned such a profound line. Shen Ye, a bit sheepish, admits he simply made it up himself. Chuckling, Mr. Qian praises Shen Ye's natural talent and formally invites him to join the Hidden Dragon project. Shen Ye, looking surprised, inquires about the project. Mr. Qian explains that it is his organization's program for cultivating rising stars, promising to recommend Shen Ye to the 3 best high schools in the world. However, he clarifies that a rigorous entrance exam must be passed first. Not a standard high school test, but one designed specifically by these elite schools. Mr. Qian further reveals that ordinary individuals rarely get a chance at such an exam, as it is monopolized by the children of noble families. Shen Ye, his expression questioning, asks for clarification on these noble families. Mr. Qian elaborates, describing them as families who possess ancient knowledge, artifacts and bloodline pacts passed down from divine beings of old, holding more martial arts legacies than even their own group. He continues, illustrating the vast power of these families, who control vast tracts of land, populations, and immense wealth. reigning supreme and separated from common folk by an insurmountable chasm. Shenya, reflecting on this revelation, wonders if his own grandfather might have come from one of these powerful families. Shenya reflects further on the implications of noble families, recognizing their ancient power and lineage. Mr. Chen, seeing Shenya's thoughtful expression, continues his explanation of the Hidden Dragon Project. He states that the project is designed to discover talented individuals like Shenya, those hidden among the common populace. Mr. Qian promises to facilitate Shenya's entry into the most prestigious academies, even guaranteeing a spot in a top-tier high school if the rigorous entrance exam is failed. If Shenya succeeds in gaining admission to any of the 3 schools, the organization pledges full support, securing resources and guiding his future career based on his unique talents. However, he clarifies that once Shenya reaches his peak, he must return to the organization to work for them with the best possible compensation. Mr. Qian urges Shenya to consider the offer carefully. Shenya absorbs this information, acknowledging that he now understands the true nature of this world, one where strength reigns supreme. He recalls a poignant memory, a vision of himself as a small child, walking hand in hand with his parents, illuminated by a soft light. He thinks about how his family was once of noble lineage, but for reasons unknown, his father was banished by his own father. Shenya laments that because they are now ordinary, the police hesitate to help whenever they encounter an anomaly. He remembers his parents desperately begging and borrowing for a single tonic, a stark contrast to how insignificant such a need would be for his grandfather's noble family. He also acknowledges his personal growth and strength, realizing that he has hurt someone today but faces no consequences, because he is now strong enough to be above the rules that apply to others. With a firm gaze, Shenya declares his acceptance of the invitation. Mr. Qian, visibly pleased, gestures to a tablet computer. He instructs Shenya, saying that if he is ready, he should sign the document displayed on the device and provide his fingerprint. Shenya takes the tablet, a sudden realization dawning on him. He thinks about how his teachers always emphasize that humanity can only survive by relying on the strong, and that this is how civilization matures. Mr. Qian, leaning in, tells Shenya that he is welcome to reconsider, as other organizations might soon approach him. Shenya responds, stating that Mr. Qian's group was the first to reach out and helped him in a difficult situation, so he is willing to join them. Mr. Qian beams, exclaiming that Shenya is a decisive young man and that he recognized something special in him. He then reminds Shenya that since he is still a minor, a guardian's signature is also required. Shenya readily agrees, confirming that his parents should be home. Mr. Qian quickly rises, expressing a sense of urgency. He says he must hurry, for if another organization reaches Shenya's parents first, all will be lost. Mr. Qian turns to leave, promising to return as soon as he is finished. Mr. Qian, exhibiting an astonishing burst of speed, vanishes from the immediate vicinity, leaving a profound impression of his formidable power. Observing his swift departure, a man in a red athletic top, also wearing glasses, turns to Shenya with keen anticipation, inquiring about the outcome of the recent proposition. Shenya calmly responds that he has already affixed his signature to the agreement, and that Mr. Qian is currently on his way to engage with his parents regarding the specifics of the contract. The man in red, overcome with excitement, laughs heartily, proclaiming that their school will undoubtedly become the most talked-about institution in the entire city. Amidst this celebratory moment, Shenya's phone suddenly rings, its insistent sound drawing his attention. He retrieves the device, a questioning expression on his face as he considers the unknown caller. Upon answering, a voice introduces itself as Luo Feichuan. The caller states that he has uncovered critical information pertaining to Shenya's current situation and formally requests his presence at the police station. The scene shifts to the exterior of a modern police station, bathed in the soft light of day. Lush foliage partially obscures the view, adding a touch of nature to the urban landscape. Inside the precinct, Sergeant Luo, a stern officer with a cybernetic arm, gestures to a seat. He calmly instructs Shenya to take a seat, and Shenya readily acknowledges his request. Sergeant Luo then directs Shenya's attention to a screen, urging him to examine its contents. Shenya looks on, a thoughtful expression on his face, as he muses about an indescribable feeling that has enveloped him since arriving at the police station. Sergeant Luo continues, explaining that the photo was an accidental discovery, turned over to the police due to ongoing rumors surrounding the hospital. He holds up a tablet displaying an image from the day of Shenya's incident. The photo reveals a suspicious figure on a rooftop across from the hospital, and Sergeant Luo asks if Shenya recognizes the individual. Shenya leans in as the image on the tablet zooms in, revealing a hooded figure making a distinct hand gesture. He studies the face intently. After a moment of contemplation, Shenya asserts he has never encountered the person in the photograph. Sergeant Luo then relays the forensic team's assessment. They believe the individual in the photo was attempting to activate something. Sergeant Luo continues his interrogation, directly asking Shenya if he was carrying anything unusual on the day of the incident. Shenya considers the hooded figure, realizing this individual must be responsible for activating the wicked Ghost King's cursed statue. He also internally acknowledges that Sergeant Luo has yet to apprehend this culprit, and with the statue now reduced to dust, the investigation's trail has grown cold. Outwardly, Shenya maintains his composure, stating he has no information regarding the statue, and reiterates that he was carrying nothing out of the ordinary, Sergeant. He privately reflects on his unique survival from the statue's curse, believing that revealing this detail would only lead to further complications. Sergeant Luo responds with a thoughtful, "Nothing, huh?" before remarking that it is odd. He then presses Shenya further, inquiring if he experienced any sensations of choking, losing control, or blacking out. Shenya firmly denies any such experiences. Yet, the persistent questions from Sergeant Luo stir a growing suspicion in Shenya, who feels the officer might possess more knowledge than he lets on. The unsettling feeling that has lingered since his arrival at the office intensifies, a sensation as if an unseen presence lurks nearby. Sergeant Luo adjusts a document on the desk between them, his gaze fixed on Shenya, who glances subtly around the room. As Sergeant Luo adjusts the document between them, Shenya's gaze darts around, his mind racing. He suddenly remembers a crucial detail, realizing his backpack, which he distinctly recalls zipping up before leaving school, was unexpectedly open. Sergeant Luo glances up, inquiring if Shenya checked his bag. No, I didn't," Shenya admits internally, realizing he really should have checked it. He can't shake the unsettling feeling that Sergeant Luo's earlier hand movement was more than just an adjustment, as if the officer was preparing for something more. In a surge of defensive instinct, Shenya internally reallocates all his statistical points to agility, a vibrant green energy flaring around him as he sits at the desk. He resolves to be ready to bail at a moment's notice, yet he secretly wonders if he can truly outrun Sergeant Luo, whose stats he believes must be far superior to his own. There is no time for second thoughts. He covertly raises a foot, still emanating green energy, ready to stomp open a hidden door beneath him, a desperate escape route if necessary. His focus remains sharp, thinking that if something goes wrong, he can open the door and fall through. Suddenly, a shrill phone ring slices through the tense silence, startling both men. Sergeant Luo is momentarily taken aback by the unexpected call, his attention drawn to the ringing device on the desk. Seizing the distraction, Shenya feels a jolt of hope. He immediately stands, a bead of sweat tracing his temple, proposing to step out of the room so Sergeant Luo can take the call privately. Sergeant Luo dismisses Shenya's suggestion, his attention already fully fixed on the ringing phone. He answers, identifying himself as Sergeant Luo Feichuan. The voice on the other end delivers a chilling message, stating that for Luo Feichuan, it is time to die. Immediately, a swirling vortex of crimson energy erupts around Sergeant Luo, sending papers flying. Shenya's eyes widen in alarm, his previous escape plans forgotten as he grasps the immediate danger. He questions what is happening, wondering if an assassin is targeting the room. A swift realization dawns upon him. The attack is not for him, but directly aimed at Sergeant Luo. Sergeant Luo, enveloped in the ominous red aura, recognizes the distinct technique, recalling Director Qian's prior warnings. He curses the audacity of the attackers, noting their proximity just outside the police station itself. With a violent crash, the window behind him shatters inward, glass fragments spraying across the room. Sergeant Luo, without hesitation, propels himself backward, plunging through the broken window as Shenya watches. Utterly stunned by the sudden, brutal assault, immediately, a blaring red light flashes, and the police station's alert system blares, announcing an intruder has been detected. Shenya, still reeling from Sergeant Luo's sudden disappearance through the window, utters an incredulous exclamation as the automated voice warns that an intruder has breached the police station. It instructs all non-combat personnel to find a safe location and stay hidden. Confused, Shenya gazes out the shattered window, no longer seeing the familiar cityscape but a bizarre, blood-red sky stretching over what appears to be a vast, ominous ocean. Gravestones and a towering monument stand eerily in the distance. He questions if he is seeing the ocean, then reels, bewildered, certain he should still be in the city. And that's it for today's episode, everyone. If you enjoyed the recap, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated with more epic manhwa stories every week. And hey, if you want to support the channel and get exclusive access to early uploads, polls, and behind-the-scenes content, consider joining our Patreon family. The link's down in the description. Your support helps keep Rob's manhwa alive and growing. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay legendary, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.